What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Season 2, Episode 4. We're here with Shane Corne today. He's a 2-year varsity starter on the football team. Led the team in sacks as a junior. Lineman and offensive lineman, defensive lineman, and he was a captain for our team.
And long snapper.
And number 51. So, Shane, thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
Of course.
Yeah, thank you. Mr. Ranieri came in first season. He set a lot of goals this year. What are some of the biggest things that he implemented?
I think the biggest things that he implemented is really trying to start a culture change because, it's not something that is easily done in 1 year. But I think coaches, taking a lot of good steps to getting guys in the weight room in the off season and all buying in and working harder in practice. And, it's still Methacton football. The culture is still getting turned around. And I hope to see it trending in the positive direction soon. But I think that was the biggest thing, really trying to turn this into a thing where, you see like Spring Forward and PV, like we're really not that far behind. Like they're just kids just like we are. And, we have to start acting like it. And if we come to play, then we can win games.
Yes, sir.
When we talked to Mr. Ranieri, that was one of the biggest things that he mentioned. So clearly it is working at least a little bit.
Yeah, and you said on the field. Is there something that you've taken away that you can use off the field from Coach Ranieri?
Yeah, I would say it's just putting in the hard work. From like running hard during practice and then just not being lazy, not giving excuses. It's really just some things you're doing it for you and you get out of it what you put into it. And that's a great lesson, in the classroom, on the football field, and any aspect of life.
For sure.
All right, so you did take a step back this year in terms of a team aspect, but tell us about districts the past 2 years and how it made you feel, to represent Methacton at the biggest stage.
Oh man, it made me so excited last year, especially because they called out our names for all the starters and we got to run out onto the field and stuff, and it just made me feel like, we made the playoffs back-to-back times.
Right.
I technically played in both, but sophomore year I got in for not that many plays.
Mm-hmm.
But just being a part of that, and that was the first time Methacton made the playoffs in back-to-back years, being on the team and part of that felt really special to me. It's a big thing. Methacton football has not historically been good in 2000s, 2010s and stuff. So, starting to change that around is very important to me. And
Right.
It's cool to represent your entire school in the playoff stage. Sadly, could not take one of those home as a victory. But just being there and making the playoffs twice is a cool thing.
And then talking about this year, you start with a tough loss to Pottsgrove, and then you go to you got Bishop Shanahan. And who'd you play after that one or before that one?
William Tennant.
Oh, yeah, William Tennant. So you
yes.
started with 3 tough losses, and then finally you get in that win column with the Great Valley win. How good's that feel?
Great Valley felt amazing. And I could tell it just in the locker room, it felt different when we went to Great Valley because we were just loose and we were having fun in the locker room pregame. We normally don't have music on the speaker and getting hyped dancing pregame. That's more for after. But we were. We were just loose. We played a team who had nothing to lose. And we were 0-3. We took some bad losses too. William Tennant was not a good team. And we were kind of demoralized off that. But we just came out loose and it felt great to get back in the win column.
Yeah,
That's awesome. And
Tom, we were there.
Yeah.
We could feel it.
Yeah, and then I was just going to say to keep that rolling, you get the win against Boyertown for your homecoming. How awesome is that to get that win with the home crowd there, students going crazy?
I will say if there was one win that we needed more than any other win, it was that win. Because
awesome.
at home it was a lot of people coming for homecoming. There's alumni from around the area that come and watch our games, and it's a good feeling to look up on the hill and see a lot of people, and we're actually giving them a great product to cheer for and rally around.
First homecoming win since, I want to say, our freshman year, right? In Norristown, maybe?
I think so. I do remember winning our freshman year. I remember Dan Brandy scoring a touchdown.
Yes, sir. DB3.
How did you guys stay motivated? I know Tommy kind of asked that question through those first couple of games and then, through the, I'll call it second half of the season.
It was more it got to a point where when we were playing some of the teams that we knew were harder on the schedule, we really had to lock in where even though it was the second half and we were kind of losing and stuff, it was more we really just wanted to prove ourselves against these teams, and that motivated me at least to keep pushing myself and get better and prove that, we can hang with other teams and then have good performances as a team. Even if it's not sustained, we prove that at our best we can get in there and, like, hang with those kids. And,
Yeah.
What is Mr. Ranieri saying is the next step
I think
in the program?
the next step in the program is to continue with turning around the culture and starting to get people in the school and in the district to, like, view football as, like, the cool thing.
Okay.
Like, I think that a lot of our best athletes in the school are not football players, and I think that's just objective truth. One example right here,
Right.
Tommy Kratz. See, if he was on the football field, he'd be a monster. But if we get to a point where all the best athletes in the school really want to play football, and that's the cool thing, then I think that'll be a great point in the program.
Yeah.
There you hear it. If you're coming into the high school next year in the future, play football, boys.
Sure.
Speaking football, it's a game that you play one game per week, unlike a lot of sports where you could play 2 to 3. How do you deal with, like, that pressure building up when you have a big home game coming up? How do you build with that, and how do you take it on the game on the field?
That's a good question, because I think I do, especially last year, I would get nervous before every game, at least a little bit, but that was just in the beginning. But then by the time you get on the field, like, I mean, it's really not in your mind. Like, you're completely focused on the game. And at least to me, like, then the pressure falls off my shoulders. Mm-hmm. But it definitely, like, you do feel it. There's when you walk into that environment and there's a bunch of people coming to watch you, it definitely is high pressure.
Yeah.
You can feel it sometimes.
Yeah, and do you like that pressure? Is that a good pressure?
I do like it.
Yeah.
I think it's a good feeling. It makes me feel alive.
Good.
We needed the pressure makes diamonds quote there. Who is your football role model and why?
That's a good question. Role model. I would say in the league, I really like to watch Trey Hendrickson from the Cincinnati Bengals.
Yeah.
I think his game in the NFL was the most similar to mine, at least at the end. And there's, like, other role models, like coaching, but in terms of model my game off of, I would say him.
I love that. You got guys coming in next year. Who's someone that you really think is going to have a good year next year that was on the team this year?
I think that, one, I can see Roman Brown being very good in the future.
Yeah, he had a monster year,
Yes.
we saw.
And I think one of the linemen of the future, I'm going to take the time to shout him out, Pat Sherman.
Sherman.
I think we'll be good coming up in the future.
All right.
He could be good. But Roman Brown, we have a lot of young kids, sophomores, and that's looking good for the program. But I think that he has great vision as a running back, which is very important, especially at the high school level. He runs hard. He runs hungry.
Yeah.
What did you do as a leader to keep your team, into these games? You talked about the pressure in those big home games.
I think that the most important thing that I could do is just leading by example in terms of, like, you could talk to the team and stuff, but you really have to show that you got to be hungry the whole game. And I think leading by example, like going hard and telling the guys on the field or in the locker room, like, we have to keep it up. Like, all gas, no breaks is one thing that we would say. It's like, no matter what, if you're down, if you're up by a lot, if it's a close game, you got to keep going as hard as you can.
I love that. We talked earlier about homecoming. You said that was an awesome moment. Is there any other moments that you think might be your favorite?
Yes, immediately that comes to mind, Boyertown last year. A
Yes.
lot of people.
Yep, I know where you're going.
A lot of people. Alex Eells, were you there?
I was not, no.
But the people who were there can tell you it was crazy. It was actually like Nick Remish will say he felt God inside of him as we came back. It was like not even just because I was on the team and I'm biased. Just objectively, that was like one of the best comebacks in sports.
Yeah.
In a while. I mean, we were down by a lot with the.
No,
not a lot of
I
time
believe
left.
it. What was it? Down 20 going in the second half?
I'm not gonna lie. I do not remember what the
Were you
exact
there?
numbers were.
I wasn't there. I watched the live stream.
I watched the live stream too.
And me seeing that game on the live stream just made me want
I
to
know.
tell every kid that left early, like, yo, they still got a chance. So stay for the end of the game.
Matthew Decker and Yasir stayed the whole time.
They did.
True fans.
And that just going into the next year, when you're a student out there, make sure you stay the whole time. You never know what might happen. But yeah, that comeback, I think you had 50 seconds and you had to score a touchdown to tie it, maybe, right?
And the starting quarterback goes down.
Yeah.
The backup comes in, drives down the field, touchdown. That was crazy.
No timeouts too. We left that out.
Yeah.
That's in high school football. You don't see that a ton.
You're done.
No,
Sorry.
you're good.
What are some of the most important skills to have in terms of football?
I think that explosiveness and aggression is probably one of the most important traits you could have. And also just being mentally tough is also another thing. I mean, it's physical. You got to be able to, like, explode and push people. It's not just about, like, bench press. You got to, like, pop into them. And then I think besides that, mental toughness. I mean, like, you're tired. You're getting hit. You have to keep going. It's a dog-eat-dog world. And I think mental toughness, you need that to stick in there.
Yeah. Speaking of mental toughness, can you share like a challenging moment that you got through and just kept grinding?
I will say there was one practice in particular that the conditioning that coaches put us through was particularly tough. They said 4 quarters, and like we did a certain thing for like each quarter, and we repeated it 4 times. And that was definitely mentally tough. I mean, like sometimes you're running, and I was just in my head just like checking out, and I was just thinking of other stuff and just like kind of, you got to wait for it to be over. But
Sure.
I mean, hang in there, and just when it gets to that point though, like quitting is just not like an option to me. Like it's not something that I know just to be in the middle, like conditioning or something, just be like, I'm done. I'm hurt. I can't keep going. Like, I mean, you just have to do it. Something you got to do. You got to be tough.
For sure. Gotta love the grind.
Yeah. Take us through a typical game day for you guys.
Typical game day. So game days are like the only days of the week that we get to go home after school. So I would go home to my house, take a nap for like 30 minutes-ish. Right. It was a quick little power nap. Come back to school, and then we usually have a dinner lined up in the cafeteria. We go and eat as a team, sit together, talk.
What a typical is the meal?
Normally like potatoes. We'd have roasted potatoes and like chicken or beef.
We eat good.
Brownies and stuff. No, we actually do eat good. Then vegetables. The away games this year, though, we had them like catered by Collegeville Italian Bakery. So we had like little hoagies and brown bags that they gave us.
Nice.
And then after that, get on the bus, get in the locker room, get changed, warm up, come back into the locker room, and then wait for the refs to take us out for the actual game to start.
Any pregame, what's it called? Traditions you got to do? Have to keep it going?
Well, we would certainly have our pregame routine. Last year, we did some tough stuff. We did like the slap on the knee pads and stuff. That was cool. But then in terms of the school, there's the rock outside. If you ever look outside the football locker room, it's like it used to be in the locker room, but they like cemented it in. It's like on a little pole, and we always been touching that ever since we got here. So they got to pass it down as you coming out the locker room, give it a slap.
Do you have any superstitions, you personally?
I personally do not have any superstitions. That might be a little bit of a boring answer. I mean, I listen to my music. I get locked in. But I don't really have.
Oh, what's your go-to game song? Fire Me Up song?
I would say the second half of Stargazing by Travis Scott.
Wow.
Or Kills by Chief Keef.
Okay.
Do you plan to take football farther?
I do not plan to take football farther. I think I'm not saying this like an arrogant way, but I could if I wanted to. I don't know at what level. But it's just not something I'm interested in. I want to focus on school. I'm trying to go into physical therapy, so it'd be a lot to balance.
Right.
So I will not personally be taking my career farther.
Yeah. You can always reach out to your friends if you want to run some snow football, right?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
I got nothing else.
I got nothing else. Just great career here, and thanks for being here.
Yeah, thank you.
Of course.